be recording. Okay, this here is going to be a quick, simple lesson reviewing the basics of Adobe Animate. Adobe Animate is an animation software primarily originally designed for the web, but you can use it for other types of projects. When we open a project for this class, what we're doing now is we're going to go under where it says Create New. It says HTML5 Canvas right there. That's pretty much the default. And we're going to click that. Now when we do that, I've already moved my tools into place here. When you first open it, if you've never worked in it before, you might have your tools way over on the right. You can drag them over. You can drag and resize them here. I usually make them 2 columns. So just a little review here on what we're looking at. This is the tools over here on the left we'll come back to. In the middle here, this is called the stage, and that's where the animation's actually made. Down below here is the timeline, where we actually do the frames of the animation. And if you look over here, it says layer 1, that is layers. You can have 1 or more layers for your animation. And the little buttons way down here in the very bottom corner, one of them is a new layer button when you need to make another layer. One is a delete layer button. So if you completely mess up a layer, just click on it, delete it, and make a new one. There's also a layer folder. We're not going to get into it this class right now. Okay, to get started, first I'm going to do a real simple project of a bouncing ball. So I have to make a ball first. So right now my playhead is on layer 1. I'm going to double click where it says layer 1 here, and I'm going to name that green ball because that's what I'm going to put in there. I'm going to hit return. Now I'm going to go up here to the oval tool and select that on my tool menu. Now to make a perfect round circle for my ball, I'm going to hold down the shift key and drag this in the corner. Now I've already got green selected in my paint bucket, but if it wasn't already green, or maybe I want a different shade of green, I have a selection tool way up here in the top left, simply called Selection Tool. So I'm going to click on that. Now if I just click once, I'm probably just selecting what's called the fill. And if I move that like I just did, see how the line is still around it? That's a common thing beginners do where it's like, oops, I didn't mean to just move the fill. I want the line around it also. Now if you do that once and you realize, whoops, I made a mistake, the easiest thing to do is go up to Edit and do an Undo Move. And that'll put your fill right back where it was. Now there's 2 ways you can select both the fill and the line. You can double click and that should select both. Or another way you can do it, I just deselected here, is start up here like you're going to drag around it. Hold down your mouse button and drag, see this like box here, and then let go. That should select both the fill and the line around it. Now if you look here to your left, you see a pencil, and mine happens to be black. And you see what looks like a paint bucket for the fill color, and mine happens to be like a lime green. Also, if you got your property panel open, and for those that don't know about the panels, if you go to the window menu, any that you need to open that's not already open, you can select here. If you accidentally close out your tools or your properties or even your timeline, you can bring them back out just by selecting right here. That's under the window menu. Now for the color ball, I can go to either. I can click here or there for the fill. I've already selected it, so when I click, it's already selected. So I'm going to click on there. I'm going to do a different shade green. See, when I put this eyedropper, I can see all the different colors on here. So I'm going to do a different shade of green. I'll do that one. Now I could have the outside stroke be a different color, or I could pick pretty much the same color or another shade of green. I think I'm going to do another shade of green on this one, a little lighter shade of green so you can see it. Okay, so that's my bouncing ball. Now right now the bouncing ball has gone nowhere and it's bounced nothing. So I'm going to go down here. Right now my playhead is on frame 1 and my ball is on frame 1. I'm going to deselect it by clicking here. Actually, I don't know why I deselected. I'm going to double click on there because I do need it selected to move it. Okay, now the way this works, the basic use of the keyframes and what's called tweening is quite simple. We could move this just a tiny bit, 1 frame at a time. It would take forever. So a much simpler way is to use something called keyframes. and to use something called a tween to fill in all the frames in between. So since I already know what I'm doing here, I'm going to explain what I'm doing. I want the ball to go from here to about there in about 25 frames. How do I do that? First I go up to about frame 25. I click. I do a right click and I insert a keyframe. Now I'm going to drag this to where I want it to be. Now I have to make the keyframe first. Okay, so this is where it knows my playhead is here too. So my playhead and my new keyframe is at 25. And I just drag the ball there. Now I want my ball to bounce here in approximately 20 frames. So I'm going to go up to about frame 45. I'm going to click there. Notice I went underneath the number down here where the frames are. Now it's not real picky when I say 45, whether you're there or there. It's only one frame difference. It's not going to make a big difference. It is 24 frames per second. So every second of animation is 24 frames. So I'm going to go right here at about 45, 46, right around there. I'm going to do a right click and I'm going to insert another keyframe. Now I'm going to drag this down to there. Now to keep this first one real simple, my next bounce is going to go right back to where it started. Now I could have done other bounces and more keyframes, but I'll keep this first one real simple. So this one here is going to go back to the beginning. So I have to decide how many frames. Now the more frames, the slower it moves. So for this one, I'm going to go 35 up. So 45 plus 35 equals 80. So I'm going to go up here to 80. I'm going to do a right click and insert a keyframe. I'm going to drag this here back to the beginning. So I now have, right now my bouncing ball will stay out 80 frames. I can drag the playhead. Now when I drag the playhead, it only changes at the keyframes. So there it is at the beginning, you don't see nothing. Then at the keyframe, it's there. The next keyframe, it's there. And then the last one, it's home. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to slide this here back to the beginning. And I'm going to go between the first and the second keyframe. So this gray area in the middle here, I'm going to put my cursor there, do a right click. And for this one, when you don't know, you just try and see what works. This one here, I'm quite sure that what do we do on this one? I think a shape tween. So I'm going to go a shape tween and see what happens. Now a nice line went in there, which looks good. So if I drag this, I see that my shape tween worked just fine. Now I'm going to go in between the first keyframe and the next one. And I'm going to do a right click. And I'm going to do another shape tween. And I'm going to do this again here. Whoops, I accidentally did a classic tween. That actually will work. But I'm going to undo that. That was a mistake. I clicked the wrong one. Even though it probably will work just fine, I'm going to keep them all shape tweens. Now when I get to frame 80, if that's all as far as I want my ball to go, that's fine. But if I want to go further, I can always put another keyframe down here. So right now, if I had another ball on here bouncing and it went up to like 125 and that ended there, it would disappear at frame 80. So you have to think about that when you're putting multiple things into an animation. Now to test this, I'm going to go to Control way up here at the top. I'm going to do a rewind. And I'm going to go to play. And there it is bouncing. And it stops at 80. That's it. Now if I go up here to Control and do a loop playback, and then I go up to rewind and play, it will just loop. And it'll do that until I stop it. So I'm going to go up here to Control. I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to rewind. Now I'm going to do a real quick, before we go on break, a real quick, two more real fast. These will be short. I'm going to do a word. So I'm going to go down here in the layers. I'm going to click New Layer button in the bottom left corner. Create a new layer. I'm going to call that layer Harper. Now this one I'm going to do a little different. I want Harper. I'm going to click a text tool here. I'm going to go up here at the top. and I'm going to type Harper. This is like we did with the Harper Creek High School. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to make it a little smaller. I go over here in the properties. This size is a bit big. I'm going to maybe do try a 48, might be better. Okay. I'm going to change my font here. Okay, I change it to a different font, and I'm going to change the color. I want Harper to be blue. I'm going to deselect. Whoops, I don't know why my Harper did not turn blue. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to click here. Yep, now it's blue. Okay, now this is, I switched over to the move tool. I want Harper to start there, but I don't want it to come out on frame 1. So how do I do that? Okay, I'm going to go up to about frame 40, right there. And I'm going to insert a keyframe. So I'm going to have it appear at frame 40. Now I'm going to have it just do a quick bounce here real quick. I'm going to have it go there and there. I'm just going to stop. So the first one's going to go up 20, I'll go up 30 frames to 70. Insert keyframe, drag it, and then I'm going to go up a little further. I'm going to go past the bouncing ball here. So I'm going to go up to about 100, and I'm going to insert another keyframe, and that's where I want it to end. Then I want it to stay there for a little while. So I'm going to go up to frame 150 and put another keyframe in, but it's not moving anywhere. I don't need to do a tween here. It's not moving anywhere. Now before that, I'm going to do a tween there. This one's going to be a classic tween. Text works good with classic tween. And I'm going to put one there. Okay? Now, because this here, now if I drag this here, the green ball will disappear. So if I want the green ball to stay there till as long as the word Harper's there, I'm going to go up to frame 100 for the green ball, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. Okay, I don't need, now let's see what this whole thing looks like. Okay, there it goes. Here comes Harper at a different time. Okay, whoops, I didn't put my keyframe up far enough. So my green ball disappeared. So I'm going to put it, that's okay, it doesn't really hurt anything. I'm going to go up here and put another keyframe. Now let's see if it works okay. I think it will. Okay. For this first animation lesson, I'm just going to keep it to the bouncing ball and the text. Shapes, you can click on shape tools like rectangle, square, drag across, do a fill. You can move them on keyframes. You can change the color of them. Change the shape using the transform tool up here. So you can do that if you know, on another one. But this is a basic lesson for an introduction. So I'm going to stop it now. I'm going to hit rewind. Now to stop the screen record, I go up here to this little button right here.